Knock at the Cabin is yet another M. Night Shyamalan film with a disturbing and effective setup, but no real payoff. So what went wrong this time? Knock at the Cabin wastes no time creating a profound sense of unease, opening with Wynn catching grasshoppers before she sees a large man walking towards her. The looming stranger is Leonard, who has a relatively gentle air but is also, well, a large stranger, and one who has brought 3 other strangers with him, who he deems co-workers instead of friends. And those 3 co-workers of his are all brandishing very odd but fierce-looking weapons. They have a very important job in front of them, to convince Wynn's adoptive parents, Eric and Andrew, that they have to choose to sacrifice one member of their blended family trio. Why? Well, to stave off the apocalypse, of course, and the choice has to be made very, very soon.
If you fail to choose, the world will end.
Shyamalan and co-writers Steve Desmond and Michael Sherman build a very suspenseful first act through this seeming home invasion setup. Leonard is joined by Redmond, Adrian, and Sabrina, an unnerving quartet, even if only Redmond, the most aggressive of the 4, is genuinely creepy. But Knock at the Cabin begins to stumble when it deliberately avoids some logical questions that are barely raised by Eric and Andrew. Even at the start, Leonard and the others are painted less as cartoonishly insane and more as unwavering true believers. Leonard claims that the 4 of them, strangers until recently, all received the same set of horrific apocalyptic visions that led them to find each other and then the cabin.
They're breaking in!
But a great deal about how Leonard and the others found their joint purpose and just knew to go to the cabin is derived from faith. How did they find a message board that linked them and their visions? The details aren't important. Just take it on faith that they did. How is it possible that they could have known the specifics of newscasters' reactions to tragedies like tsunamis and pandemic-like viruses? Again, just take it on faith. And that's key because as the film reaches its wobbly third act, the twist is that while Leonard and the others may be creepy, they are, within the confines of this story, correct. There is an apocalypse, one that gets closer with each time that Eric and Andrew refuse to sacrifice themselves or their daughter, and thus each time that one of the unwanted visitors is killed in front of them. Throughout the first hour, it's easy to side with the especially angry Andrew if you're skeptical.
None of this is real!
The proof that Leonard gives to show that the apocalypse has begun is through clips, including one pre-recorded segment of natural and man-made disasters that are inarguably grim and terrifying, but seem less like God's wrath and more like the world having its revenge against humanity. The most unnerving images in the film, and the ones that are the firmest proof of Leonard and friends being correct, arrive just after Leonard becomes the only surviving member of his makeshift group. Leonard turns the TV on again, which conveniently still works, even if no one has cell phone service out in the forest, and shows Eric, Andrew, and Wynn apparently live footage of passenger airplanes inexplicably falling out of the sky, and then recites a newscaster's speech before the newscaster even says anything. In the book the film is based on, Wynn is accidentally killed in a struggle, and once Leonard's crew is entirely killed off, Eric and Andrew refuse to make a sacrifice between the 2 of them, heading off into the uncertain future. In the film, Wynn is not killed, and Eric winds up accepting that he should be sacrificed to stave off the end of the world. Since we already know that Leonard and his co-workers were correct, Eric's off-screen death does indeed stop the apocalypse, at least for now. An easy critique on the work of M. Night Shyamalan is that while he's an excellent director, his writing is an albatross. Knock at the Cabin is far from his weakest film, considering how recently removed we are from the embarrassing 2019 film Glass, let alone earlier weak efforts like The Happening and Lady in the Water. Shyamalan, in depicting a story that mostly takes place in the same confined location, uses the camera in unique and uncomfortable ways. And whatever else is true, Dave Bautista's performance as Leonard is truly remarkable.
I believe you were chosen because your family's love for each other is so pure. I know you've been through a lot and people haven't been fair to you.
In just a handful of diverse films, Bautista has proven himself to be a stealthily brilliant actor with untold depths. His work as Leonard is similarly superlative, as he carefully walks the line between fervent belief and extreme empathy. But Knock at the Cabin refuses to allow any genuine doubt, in favor of approaching a grimly inevitable finale, in which the choice placed in front of Eric and Andrew at the start is made, just because. When Andrew realizes that Redmond is the same man who once brutally attacked him at a Massachusetts bar in a fit of violent homophobia, he's more firmly willing to think the worst of Leonard and the others. While Andrew remains the most doubtful of Leonard's claims throughout, he doesn't push as hard as you'd think a self-described human rights attorney would against the most ridiculous sounding of claims. There's also a contradiction at the core of how Knock at the Cabin presents itself versus what it actually is. This is Shyamalan's second R-rated film, and that implies something more intense than what's on screen. Though Shyamalan, like all great suspense-building filmmakers, is more prone to creating dread and tension by not showing something, That tendency holds this film back. For being an R-rated film, Knock at the Cabin feels like it's not willing to go all in on depicting violence on screen. Though the smallness of Knock at the Cabin is very much the point, it ends up lending a quality of emptiness to the proceedings once the end credits roll. The performers are, as you would hope, pot committed to this work, and Shyamalan's directing skills remain as strong as ever. Even in his weakest films, his direction is enough to make things at least interesting from scene to scene. But Knock at the Cabin, by the very nature of its source material, has to be an intensely challenging experience for the audience as much as it is for the characters. It only gets halfway there in the end.